Father neglects me and my sister after remarrying, forgets our late mother's birthday and announces new pregnancy with Nicole. I leave home. Oop had a wonderful relationship with her mother growing up. When she was 11, her mother died in a car accident. 2 years later, her father started dating Nicole. Nicole and Dad got married 4 years later. After the accident, Dad came out of his shell, but changed. Oop and Sis were neglected, both emotionally and physically. At one point Oop's sister needed stitches and the neighbor had to drive the kids because they had been left alone and Dad refused to come back to get them, partially due to Nicole. He eventually made it to urgent care. Tipping point came when the father, who had always celebrated with the kids for their mom's birthday, forgot mom's birthday and instead went on a trip with Nicole, got delayed and didn't call the kids or say anything about missing the birthday. From the Post, not even a week later, my father has the nerve to tell us about an exciting surprise: Nicole is pregnant. I get angry and tell my father, you need to knock her ass up when you can't even be here for us. I then look at Nicole and tell her she is a disgusting piece of trash and to get out of our lives. My father gets angry and yells at me to go up to my room. Later, my grandpa unexpectedly came over to pick me up. My father didn't text me shit. Even as I left, he wouldn't even look at me. It's been 2 days, and I'm still at my grandparents' home. I feel ashamed for saying what I said, yet I don't feel overwhelming regret. Ida? Edit. When I saw how deep the cut was, I immediately called my dad. He was staying over at Nicole's place at the time. When I called, Nicole picked up. She said, "Hello?" I said, "Sister is bleeding. Can you pass the phone to Dad?" She said, "Dad is busy. I can't." And, immediately afterwards, she disconnected the phone. I then left to go get my neighbor, my dad. According to him, when I was 14 and my sister was 10, my dad dropped us over at my grandpa's farm since he and Nicole were flying out. A day after they returned, my grandpa dropped us back home. We were still sleeping in grandpa's car when this ordeal happened. But, when my grandpa knocked on the door, my dad answered the door drunk out of his mind. From what little he could see, my grandpa saw that the house was a mess. He told my dad that he would bring us back the following day once my dad was in his right mind. We left back to grandpa's place. Then, my grandpa got a call from my dad the next morning, threatening him with the police if he didn't bring us back immediately. My grandpa mentioned that he would speak with my paternal grandparents to see if something can be done about our situation. Update 2. Hi everyone, it's been a while. I really want to thank all of you for your perspectives and advice. Just wanted to give an update regarding Thanksgiving dinner. When my dad and Nicole arrived, I asked if I could speak with them both. My dad said he didn't want to talk and went into the living room. Nicole still remained by the front door, so I apologized for insulting her. She replied that she needed to leave and went to the living room. Overall, she still seemed rightfully angry with me. Dinner was awkward because my grandma would try to get my dad and I to talk, but he wouldn't really bother. After dinner, I pulled him aside and apologized again. He ignored me and went straight to Nicole. I still wasn't sure if I was heading back with him or not, so I packed everything just in case. When he was getting ready to leave, I asked him if I could come back home. He said Nicole wasn't comfortable having me home even though it had been a few days since the incident. I spent the entire night crying on the phone with my sister. Maternal grandpa tells paternal grandparents he's concerned about Oop's mental health and asks they put Oop in therapy. Paternal grandparents only say they will take Oop to a faith leader who specializes in grief counseling and refuse to negotiate. Maternal grandpa reams them out, and Dad, and says it was ridiculous for a grown man to throw out their daughter, and it was shameful that my paternal grandparents are not hard-pressed in helping me get back home. Oop is now going to weekly private sessions with the faith leader, and while she is not entirely happy, it does seem to be helping them process their grief. Oop apologized a lot to her dad through text but he refuses to respond. Maternal grandfather called and Dad has him blocked. Oop is still living with grandpa. I also wasn't invited to my dad and Nicole's Christmas dinner, which hurt, but I'm starting to not care to have a relationship with my dad. I don't know if my feelings will change. In a twisted way, it was good he didn't let me go back home with him. The space has helped me focus on myself. I ran out of characters in the update, but my sister is still living with my dad. She visits me over weekends and I've walked home with her from school, so I still have some contact. Update 3. Hi everyone, I'm feeling overwhelmed with the amount of messages, but I want to say that I am not literate regarding the laws around my situation. Regarding my sister and I's college fund, my mom worked in a small boutique, and some money earned through that was set aside. While my dad worked as a consultant, and I do know he did put some money into the funds too. I don't know if my sister and I received any money regarding benefits or any monetary inheritance from my mom after she passed. I'm still understanding a great deal of information, and writing everything out first. I even recently opened up a bank account with my grandparents' help, so now, I will not be dependent on him for simple monetary needs. I have thought about emancipation, but in less than a year, I'll be 18, so I am not sure if that avenue is worth my energy given everything else. Also, thank you for leaving info in the comments. I'll certainly be looking into all of that. Also, I know it is a small percentage of people, but please don't send me messages telling me to do violent things to my dad or Nicole or wishing harm on their baby. I don't need that, nor would I wish it upon anybody. Update 4. Oop goes to the meeting and tells counselor what is going on, but asks him to not notify Oop's dad. Counselor gave Oop mental health pamphlets and made a follow-up appointment but didn't answer her questions about what will happen next. A day later, paternal grandpa told Oop that the school called Oop's father to set up a meeting with the counselor. Grandpa yelled at Oop and told her they'll take the baby and sis away, and Oop wasn't raised to lie. Oop gets grounded. Oop doesn't know what happened in the meeting, but knows a police officer was present and they'll do a wellness check. Dad denied everything and told them Oop was just spiteful about losing her mom. Oop isn't in a great mental space, and as punishment, the grandma stopped taking her to the faith leader. Update 5. Hi everyone, I'm only making a mini update. During the meeting with the counselor and police officer, my father knew to expect a wellness check. In fact, he's been home early every single day last week, which is unlike him. My sister texted me last Tuesday that our father came home early from work and told her to behave. She was panicking and freaking out, so I called her to help her calm down. I explained to her that a police officer might come over for a wellness check, and she should answer the police officer's questions honestly. I again don't know specifically what transpired during the wellness check, but my sister told me that the officer came to ask my father some questions and asked her if she was okay. I asked her what she told the officer, and she told him that she was fine. Nothing has come out of it. As soon as my sister texted me on that Tuesday, I tried sneaking out to go over to my dad's home before the officer comes, but my grandpa caught me. He brought me back inside, and we had a yelling match, to put it lightly. I yelled at him saying he doesn't care for my sister and I. He yelled at me saying he was tired of my spoiled ass and that I should be grateful that I still get food and a bed after the foolishness I recently pulled at school. I left in the middle of his rant to calm down in my room. My grandma came up shortly afterwards to check on me. She said that your dad and grandpa are going through a lot to figure out this mess and to please not make it worse for her sake and for mine. I asked her what she meant by for my sake and hers. She said that I need to mature and act like an adult and to not cause her stress. Then, she said, you need to stop stressing Nicole. You know, the poor woman has been calling me crying about what you did. She's scared for the baby. After she said that, I did not have the energy to enter into another yelling match, so I told my grandma that I needed some space and left. The counselor did not follow up with me during school last week. Also, I think it's for the best right now. My sister had a panic attack last week. They almost called paramedics because she couldn't stop hyperventilating. I know she is suffering and doesn't need anything else placed on her mentally. I also don't want to break her trust again after going to the counselor. She is the type of person to keep things to herself if there isn't a strong rapport. If she is going through something, she will not tell you unless you force her hand. I still want her to feel safe and open when she speaks with me. I'm still evaluating my options and trying to find the best path forward. Side note, I keep getting questions about this in my DMs. 1. My father, as far as I know, currently does not drink excessively or do hard drugs. 2. No, Nicole is not my stepmother. She is just engaged to my father. 3. I am not going to run away. I'm not careless enough to do that given everything. Update 6. I'm now living at a friend's home. Edit. Hi, I noticed that my post has been posted on Facebook and TikTok. I understand this is a public forum, but if you could, please refrain from sharing or sending my post on other platforms. I'm getting a little scared that my dad or grandparents may find it on FB, or my friends might find it on TikTok. Thank you. Nicole is staying over at my grandparents' place because she has bad nausea and fatigue from the pregnancy and needs my grandma's help. Nicole's mother isn't flying in for another week, so she is staying over for the interim. Since there is only one other spare room, my grandparents asked me to stay at a friend's house for a week. Update 7. This will be my final update for a while. Over a week ago, my grandparents asked me to live at my friend's place for a week since Nicole needed my grandma's help with the pregnancy. For context, Nicole has severe fatigue and nausea, and her mom was coming in a week later. Also, my grandparents have only one extra bedroom, which is why they asked me to live at my friend's place. I was not mad about the arrangement. I got to be away from everyone, which was helpful. My father and Nicole's relationship, my father is working, so he is unable to take time off to help Nicole. Hence, her needing my grandma and her mom's assistance. After overhearing a conversation with my grandma and Nicole, I learned that both of them have a lot of stress, and it's making her feel depressed. That's all I know about them. Sister in hospital. 3 days ago, my sister ended up in the hospital. My sister has been bullied for a long time. We've reported it to the school numerous times, but nothing is ever done about it. A girl who has been harassing her online started name-calling and laughing at her while they were walking to class. My sister, then, pushed the girl away from her, which escalated to a physical fight. The girl bashed my sister's head into the locker while they were fighting. My sister was then unconscious, and the school immediately called emergency services. My grandparents went to the hospital, and I went when I was done with school. My maternal grandpa drove in that night. My sister ended up with a severe concussion, but she came back home on Friday. She is doing better but is still having bad headaches. The bully was suspended, but nothing else was done. BTW in all of this mayhem, my dad did not show up once at the hospital. Living situation, I am now living with my maternal grandpa, but my sister is living at my dad's place. My grandma has been going over to check on her. But, the fact that she is still living alone in the home is worrying me. She is still recovering from everything, and no one is fucking there for her. My maternal grandpa asked my dad if he could take my sister with him for a week, and he said no. This posse also threatened to call the cops on my maternal grandpa again. I'm calling the cops on him after he leaves for work on Monday. What else to do to get her out of the situation? That's the only reason why I'm calling the cops. No one is there with her. My grandma comes for 15 to 20 minutes and leaves for the rest of the day. She threw up twice on Saturday, and no one was home when it happened. Also, I have no idea if my grandma would show up if my sister called for help. I'm now / 2 hours away, so I can't go. Update 8 Ty for your well wishes as of today, my dad is being actively questioned, and Nicole ended up pushing the gender reveal party back. My grandpa and I talked about my sister's situation, and he is in the process of obtaining a lawyer. Hopefully, she'll be able to stay with us soon. Update 9 Yeah, it's a tough pill to swallow and even harder to accept reality as it is. I had to keep telling myself that he's not my dad anymore nor will he ever be. Rewiring the way you see a familiar person isn't easy at all, and I have questioned many of my decisions the past 2 months. But, it gets for the better. Another one of my biggest fears was losing a sense of family. Though he was never there or my paternal grandparents sided with him, there was still the idea of family. But, even for that, I had to rework through those feelings and understand why I felt that way. It's a process to keep telling yourself that this is not how a family is supposed to be. I really want to thank you guys for your support and wonderful advice. This has been a crazy roller coaster in general, but I'm glad it's finally coming to an end. There is still a lot more I'll go through, but I'm relieved that my sister is safe. Just to preface, all of this literally happened today. My other post was also becoming too long, so I thought to make a new one. At school, the front office lady called me up over the intercom during the middle of my exam. I go over, and I see my dad standing there. This man pulled me out of class, so he can bring me back home. I immediately told him that I'm not coming, and he said I don't have a choice in this and to move. BTW during all of this, we are still standing in the front office. I then yell at him to leave, and he yelled at me to shut up and move. Front office lady got involved and asked if there was a problem. I told her that I refused to go back with him and asked her to call my grandpa. My dad then grabbed my arm and tried dragging me out of the front office, and I just kept screaming. The lady called the security officer, and he came over. My dad told him I'm acting like a brat and I'm the problem child. I told the officer that I now live with my grandpa and not him. They call another officer over, and he tells me that I'm only allowed to leave with my father. The officers leave, and my dad gripped my wrist and pulled me towards his car. Then, he fucking orders me to get into the car or else. I try getting away, but he shoves me into the passenger seat. He then warned me not to try anything and drove off back to his house. He then says I have to care for my sister while he's at work this week because I'm responsible for what happened to her, and this is my way of paying back for everything I put him through. He then texts me a minute after he leaves telling me to not fucking try anything and that he'll physically discipline me if he has to. BTW he has never physically hurt me or severely threatened me like this before, so it was frightening when I saw the text. A while after he left, I called the cops and said I was taken against my will back to his house and told them about him manhandling me. Cops came over, and maternal grandpa came over. Since no caretaker was home for my sister, and my father didn't pick up his phone, the cops allowed my grandpa to take her back home with us. They located my father a bit ago and arrested him. It's a shit show RN, but now, my sister is living with me and maternal grandpa, so she is at least safe. Paternal side family called yesterday and started going off on me. I got called a lot of things and was told I was no longer welcome in their family. IDGAF, they can do whatever they want. School is a 20 minutes walk and a 6 minutes drive from my father's home, but after what happened, I doubt that my father would try to pull something like that again. Also, after the whole call, I blocked them all on everything. I have no intention of speaking or dealing with their business. Regarding the baby, they detected a heart abnormality. They are going to a specialist in a couple more weeks to figure out what exactly is the issue, but the fact that they suck at basic parenting worries me about the baby's care after she is born. Random side note, Nicole is not even Christian. But, grandparents have looked past at the entirety of her and my father's relationship. They have always shitted on me for not attending Sunday school or volunteering more at the church. The people there aside from 2 to 3 individuals respect my grandparents greatly and are 1A and D all the same. They will 100% spin this as a child straying from God, and her father trying to save her BS. Also, this is the same church that kicked a woman out for a suspected abortion. It was never confirmed, instead it was a rumor spread by another member of the church. Slowly and maturely, everyone stopped associating with a woman. These are also the same people who claim my mother's death was part of God's plan to help the drunk driver who killed her reach closer to God. Commenter, if your paternal grandparents try to contact you, make sure you get it in writing or record the convo, if you are in a one-party state. If you're able to get a lawyer pro bono or through funds, make them talk to you through a lawyer. I hope karma gets them really bad. Commenter, I don't know about Nicole but definitely feels like your dad has been lying to everyone. I won't be surprised if he told her you and your sister were with grandparents when he was out and about with her. My grandpa passed away in May. He was meeting with a friend after a meeting with the lawyers when it happened. I truly do not know how to feel. Everything after was a blur, and I am still having to deal with the aftermath of it. The funeral was rushed and messy. He was not even buried next to my grandmother but was cremated against his wishes. I was never once asked what my grandpa would have wanted. It seemed like people wanted to get over it and move on. I don't even have my grandpa's urn, and I don't know who has it now or what happened to it. I was never given a moment to breathe. Within a week of his passing, I was moved to 2 different homes of relatives I've never met. I've lost a lot of contact with my sister. She is less and less responsive to my calls or texts. My relative is trying to arrange a meeting for us by communicating with my paternal grandparents. He told me that he met with my sister, and she was healthy and doing well. What's going to come from the custody issues now?